Hello, so welcome to another reading vlog. This week is kind of the last week of April. That's not really true. There are a couple of days next week. However, it's my birthday at the beginning of that week, so I'll probably be doing some other things, which means that I kind of want to finish off most of the books that I was trying to read for the Magical Readathon during the next week. Like, it's currently Sunday night. Could I read all of this by the next Sunday night? Honestly, probably not, but maybe I'll give myself a birthday extension. Probably, because I'm totally not against breaking rules for readathons as long as I'm reading. So the one book that I am partway through, I think I'm 40% of the way through the audiobook for The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in a duology where there's this dream-based magic. So basically there are different ways that this priesthood can gather dream blood. Sometimes when people are dying, the priests will go and as they kind of deliver people to this dreamlike heaven, they will take their dream blood. I think as well people can just kind of come when they're having dreams and donate them. And maybe there's also some prostitute-y type people that gather dream blood as well. And then they use it for healing and other kinds of magic. So the second book, there's quite a lot of political upheaval as they were 10 years ago taken over by this neighboring kingdom, and then that's all in a weird situation now, and there's a bunch of kind of different factions trying to come together to win their freedom. I think that's an okay summary of it. To be honest, it took me at least the first quarter of this to even understand what was going on. I just find something about N.K. Jemisin's writing, especially her earlier stuff, a little bit hard sometimes to get a grasp of things. I can't tell what it is about her writing, but I have heard other people say the same thing. But I think now that I've figured out what's going on, the main character is really this healer who uses the dream blood to heal people, but she's now kind of in this dangerous situation with these more nomadic, warlike tribes. And I am a bit worried because it feels like the guy that's being set up as her love interest is kind of a jerk, and I'm not sure if he's redeemable in my eyes, so I guess we'll see about that one. The only other audiobook that I have to read is The River Has Roots, and this I'm planning to try and immersion read, so read the book at the same time as listening to the audiobook, because the book has a whole bunch of pictures in it. And also though, I've heard that the audiobook has singing that was the songs were written by the author. So I think this is going to be a beautiful whimsical tale. It's something about these sisters and making a deal with the Fae, and maybe some kind of grammar-based, song-based magic. I don't know, but I'm very excited to find some time for this at some point. However, if I'm immersion reading that, it doesn't really count for something I'll be listening to when I'm running or doing housework. So I'm probably going to run out of audiobooks for that, which means ideally I would pick up one of these on audiobook. I don't know why I'm holding this like this. But I don't think my library has either of these on audiobook, so I'd have to decide to use a credit. So we'll think about it. I think if I'm going to listen to the audiobook of either of these, it would be this one, even though, once again, I expect this one to be more confusing, like N.K. Jemisin's other one, because this is also N.K. Jemisin, also the last book in a series, but also I suspect more of that, not really romantasy and not even really fantasy romance, but definitely a fantasy with a romance. Also some fantasy gods. I'm expecting to like the ideas in this, but maybe not the writing and maybe not the romance. So we'll see. Maybe I'll have a look about the audiobook for this one, because I am going to start this one first physically. I'm going to start this tonight and I'm super excited about it. This is the last book, I think, or more precisely the second spin-off from the Imperial Raj trilogy, which is actually here on my shelf. I really love this trilogy. It's about this AI spaceship that used to inhabit multiple bodies, and then in this first series they're basically trying to get revenge for whatever happened that led them to only have one body. Then there was another spin-off. Oh, it's down here, out of shot. Anyway, there was another spin-off that I also liked, but it was kind of quite separate. This one, I think we go back to the main story a little bit, although I think we're following a translator for these aliens that we met in the first trilogy, but they're not really happy about their position as a translator. I don't know. These books are often quite weird, but I love a lot of the ideas in them. So I'm hoping to love this when I start it tonight. I do also have a couple of other things I should be reading, but technically these should be easier things to get to. We have The Cursed Princess Club, which I am already halfway through, and it's a reread, and it's mostly pictures, you know? I love this. I've talked about it a million times, so I won't go into it too much, but every time I read this, like even just flicking through it now, makes me so happy. This is my cheer me up book. I do also have a book that should be really easy to read, but maybe not easy to complete. So I have this children's book. I can't remember actually. Maybe I'll try and put on the screen the Magical Readathon prompts that I'm reading each of these books for. But this one was the one with fruit on the cover. So there's a parrot with fruit on its head. But this is just a short little mystery book. But the idea is that when you get to the end of it, you should have been able to solve some kind of puzzle and work out where to turn these dials to. And when you turn them to the right place, you can pull this down and read the message. The first time I picked this up after I read it, like I love puzzles and stuff, but the first time I picked it up, honestly, I think it was because I was stressed about work at the time and busy working out work problems. And it was just a little bit too overwhelming for me, this children's book. But I'm hoping that this time I'll read it and I'll be able to figure out the puzzle. I mean, if it really is too hard for me, I'm just going to Google. I don't care. But I can see when I look through this that there are actually a bunch of things. Like, I can see hidden things in here. I just don't understand what they mean. So I'm going to need to find some time to focus on this when my brain is working. Is my brain working? I don't know. Oh, also, at the end of the week, there is going to be a book fair. So when we moved to this town, we just missed out on the big annual book fair. So in my old town, I used to go to the equivalent kind of charity book fair that they would run every year. And in my old town, they ran it just after we moved. In this town, they ran it just before we moved. So I missed it last year in both places. But this year, they're running it just for my birthday, actually, or just before my birthday. So maybe I'll blow my book buying budget as a birthday present for me. I honestly don't know what it's going to be like. Maybe there won't even be anything good. But I'll take you along to that at the end of the week as well. Good morning. So last night I managed to get about 60 pages into this. I think actually 6 chapters, because as it turns out there's 3 main perspective characters. So I've read 2 chapters of each of them because it's kind of rotating through them. So I've read 2 rotations. I don't know if it will keep doing that pattern, but anyway, our first character, I want to keep calling them like a young person, but I think it said they're actually 60, and their grandmother has died, and they've never really like left their local town, hardly ever even left the house. They've mainly spent the time looking after this like crotchety grandmother, and all their other like relations were hoping that they would get some kind of inheritance, and instead they got nothing. And then the situation with this main character, I will also say, so it's using like non-binary genders or non-binary pronouns. I'm a little bit struggling with this character's one because they're using Z and here, but in high school, like 20 years ago, a long time ago, I did German, and so when I read Z as a pronoun, I can't help but think of German Z, and then the here can easily be dyslexic into ear. So basically my brain keeps reading it as German for she and her. So I'm seeing it like that instead of seeing it as non-binary. Anyway, they've basically been told or strongly encouraged to take this position, like a diplomatic position, kind of, where they're meant to be investigating someone that went missing. It seems like they're actually looking for a translator from these aliens, but they went missing 200 years ago, and so it's not really a serious position, but they just want someone to look like they're looking. So basically she's been paid to travel, but it seems like she is going to try and do some investigation. Then we also have this other guy. Honestly, when I'm reading books with non-binary characters, I have to watch myself that I don't start implying the wrong things. Yes, he. Following this guy who was basically abandoned as a baby, and now these people have turned up saying we know you must be an ancestor of this particular group, and they've got some reasons why they suspect that, and he's just kind of working out what to do with that information. But some of the information from that makes you think he must be related to the person that this other person is looking for, because also our third character, the third character is the one that I love. So the third character is a translator for these aliens, but it seems like they're part human, part alien, and we're kind of just getting the story of their childhood and what they've been raised to believe. But their experience of childhood is odd. They've got a big thing about eating their siblings and like always wanting to like see inside things, and their teachers up constantly having to tell them, don't eat that, don't open that up, and they're trying to teach them how to act like humans, but like the humanness that they're teaching them is all just like surface level stuff, which totally fits with the translators we got to meet in this. Like they have just such a strange perspective of the world, and I feel like this is really explaining why that is so wonderfully. And also, so they're being raised to believe certain things, and our main character is basically beginning to question everything that they've been raised to believe. And after 2 chapters, they're really looking for a way out, a way to do something different, which again, I think is going to link into our other main characters and whatever happened to the translator from 200 years ago that we're looking for. And there are just some lines in this that I'm loving. I've only tabbed one so far because I didn't have my tabs with me in bed last night, but right near the end there was a line that said, "The funny thing about having a name is that you begin to think of yourself as a solid thing that continues to exist, instead of just a stream of experiences." And I don't know, I just love those really non-human perspectives. And when an author manages to write something that feels so non-human and has those like perspectives of human behavior that show just how ridiculous some things are. So I'm loving this so far. I don't think I've read anything else since I talked to you, so I guess that's all for now.
I'm scared to lose myself or to grow old. And all my shadows, they just don't know where to go. And life is like a dream where I walk down a long road, and when I wake up, I just don't know where to go.
Hello. So I meant to update you earlier today, but somehow the whole day has gotten away from me. I think it's been really freezing today, and also I went for a blood test this morning, so then I needed a nap. And anyway, the sun's going down soon, so let's update before that happens. I have a stack of books here to update you on, because firstly, I did finish off listening to The Shadowed Sun because yesterday I went for a run, and then also I reblued my hair, and while I was doing that I listened to this as well. So I finished this off, and to be honest, by the end of it I didn't really care about what was happening at all. A lot of the different things that were wrapped up, I mean, from my perspective, they were wrapped up in a way that was very predictable. I guess you could say some of the details were maybe interesting, but I didn't feel like there was enough focus on those details, so I just didn't care about it. And I felt like what it was actually focusing on was this romance, because the very ending was all about like a happily ever after type rubbish, and I hated it because I didn't care about the relationship. And I don't even know that I liked the main character's development and the decisions that she made. I mean, I guess in some ways you could say that she was making her own decisions and like was being very empowered, and maybe from that perspective it's good, but I just nah, I don't know. I just don't think this was the book for me. I liked the first one a lot better. It wasn't necessarily my favorite either, but I thought it the way that it was looking at this dream magic and the idea of religious corruption was really interesting. But this one was much more romance heavy and just a lot of violence towards women that I didn't enjoy. And so, yeah, kind of disappointing, to be honest. So there's that. I did, while I was coming back from my blood test, also start The Kingdom of Gods. And I realized, like, I own this, but now I'm listening to the audiobook. And normally I kind of think it's dumb to own the book and then use an Audible credit or whatever. I think I had to use an Audible credit for this because it's not on Libro FM, at least not in New Zealand. So I usually think it's dumb to listen to the audiobook if you own the physical book. However, I did get this from a little free library, so I got it for free, and I kind of feel like it's going to be similar to The Shadowed Sun, where I'll be glad to finish this series. And I do think this one I might like a little bit more in terms of the ideas about the gods, but I also don't think it's going to be my favorite because it's going to focus in on a romance, and it's also focusing on the particular god that I don't care about. Although it is interesting. The very beginning is interesting because we basically have this god who's very childlike. He's like the god of childhood, let's say, and he's met these two young twins who are from the ruling family. He's met them and kind of forming this friendship with them. I think it's going to turn into a romance though, and that's where I'm going to not like it anymore, but we'll see. So there's that. Oh, I should be stacking these up where you guys can see them. Wouldn't that be very aesthetic? Then as well, I've been reading Translation State, and this, luckily, I've been loving, because if I was not enjoying these and then not enjoying this, I'd probably cry. But this is so great, and I just find I can get through it really quickly. And I don't know if it's because the font is kind of big or just the way that it's written, but I'm halfway through it. I haven't even really spent that much time reading it, I don't think, for my normally quite slow reading pace, but I'm halfway through it already, and I don't know what I can say about it without spoilers. Like, I'm really liking the direction it's going in. I think one of our characters, what is their name? Ine? Do you know? I'm probably pronouncing lots of names wrong in this too. Let's call them Ine, or let's call her Ine. Should I try and use the right pronouns? I'll probably stumble too much. But Ine really reminds me of the main character from Provenance, which was the spin-off before this one. Like, kind of this young person trying to do their best in this kind of like political, more like work environment, and trying to like navigate the law in order to get what they want, let's say. So that's kind of their focus. And then they are involved in what's happening with the other two, but the other two are kind of on a collision course, and there's a lot of almost body horror, which, I mean, it was right from the beginning, but it's gotten more and more, and just the thing that I can see coming is potentially awful. And some of the descriptions of some of the things that have happened along the way have been quite bleh. Like, it's not too much, but just enough to really make me afraid, just like these two characters are afraid of the thing that we're heading for, that the other character is trying to stop. So I don't know though, but I kind of hope it happens, because I think we'd learn a lot, and also maybe it'll be kind of disgusting. Anyway, I will keep reading that, but so far I'm loving it. And the only other thing on my stack is the Cursed Princess Club, which I'm really close to the end of now. I think we're just getting the president of the Cursed Princess Club, her backstory, and then I'll be done with this volume. And I'm really sad because I know my library doesn't have the next volumes, and I was thinking of buying it, but I did see that there's like a box set coming out later in the year for the first 4 volumes, and if I was going to buy it, I think that's probably the most cost effective I could find, which means there'll be no Cursed Princess Club in my life for a little while, but I'll probably survive because I've got lots of other things to read. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the book fair, so I'll take you along to that. I guess next will be a bunch of book fair B-roll, and we'll see whether that means I have a lot more books on my TBR shelf or not.
Pick it up from the top, hit restart. So far it's been so hard to live, but lately something in me changed. Let it go, let it
hello, I feel crapola, but hopefully my makeup is covering up that and I still look somewhat human. Anyway, I did go to the book fair the day before yesterday. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I've just been, dying of being a girl and feeling crap for the last couple of days. But anyway, I did go to the book fair and I got a bunch of books. And I think I might actually go back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be feeling better. The coolest book that I got from the book fair though is this little book. It's called An Illustrated Book of Bad Arguments. And it's basically got little explanations of all the different logical fallacies and then cute little cartoons kind of illustrating them. It was in the humor section and it's got this chart of all the different kind of logical fallacies. And I don't know, it looks like a really fun way to kind of reacquaint myself with logical fallacies, although I have learned about them before in a university paper, and some of them are things that I would like to say a lot of people are aware of anyway, but unfortunately in this time of internet learning, people don't always learn critical thinking. But this book I think would be a really great way to learn it. Hopefully. It was only $2. $2. I did also get this copy of Red Country, which I will stick up on my Joe Abercrombie section of my shelves as I try and collect all the First Law World books. This wasn't my favorite in the series, but $3 this one. There was actually also there a copy of Before They Are Hanged. Yeah, Before They Are Hanged, but it was this size. And for that first trilogy, I have the first book and the third book in the smaller size. And so I thought, since I got both of those secondhand, and I think the smaller editions are probably more common than these larger ones, I think there's a good chance I'll find that second book in the matching edition. So I didn't spend my $3 to get a non-matching edition. Will I regret that? Maybe. Although it was a little bit damaged as well. This one, though, is in pretty good condition. So happy with that. I did also get a few older fantasies. I'll do a book haul, proper book haul video at some point. This one, I don't know if I should have bought it, but I did. This one is kind of a series that I've been collecting. This one, some of you might know, I bought the smaller paperback version for $3 at the river markets a few weeks ago, and then I found this hardcover, which again, $3. And my copy of Black Trillium, the first book in this series, is a hardcover the same size. So I thought, maybe it was a bad decision, but I thought let's get them matching. Will I ever get this whole series matching? Very unlikely. So debatably bad decisions, but that's what I did. Also, probably a very bad decision. And I don't know, it's my own fault. I came across this one, Alex in Rome, which is by Tessa Duda. So this is a New Zealand author, and there's a series of 4 books, and I have 3 of the books. And anytime I come across these, I can never remember which is the one that I don't have. And it was only $1, and it's a hardcover. But you know what? I already have this. I need to update my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet on Google Sheets of all the books that I want to buy. And this should have been on it, but it wasn't on it. I need to... not this one. The 4th book that I'm missing in the series, that needs to be on it. And I need to stop buying copies of this book because I have a suspicion that this is the 3rd copy of this book that I've bought over the years. Anyway, that's everything I got from the book fair. Not a bad haul. It was a little bit funny because at first, I walked all around the general fiction area and I didn't know that the children's room also had a science fiction and fantasy section. Or it said science fiction, but it was science fiction and fantasy. And when I was going around the general fiction, I saw some fantasy, but there was hardly any and I was feeling quite disappointed. But of course, then I found the proper section where I should have gone. I did also see a lot of books that I could have bought, but I restrained myself. So in the end, I actually only spent $13 so far. As I said, I'll go back tomorrow because I know they were going to put more boxes of books out. So we'll see if there's anything else left behind. Tomorrow's the last day of the book fair. So that's that. As well, I have been doing some reading. I'm now getting quite close to the end of Translation State, actually. I was going to say I was 3/4 of the way through, but I've only got another, maybe I've still got 70 pages to go. Anyway, I'm kind of enjoying it, but I will say, it's quite low-key. When I think about the intensity of the very first book in this series, Ancillary Justice, the rest of the series kind of gets calmer and calmer, even though some crazy things are happening. And I'm loving the things that are happening, but it's sometimes so weird. One chapter I really loved, we had a couple of chapters actually of this committee meeting, and I was invested, I was engaged in what was happening in this committee meeting. And then it went from like committee meeting, people trying to talk through an issue and having weird opinions about it, to like suddenly everything's completely crazy, nothing makes sense. Like it just escalated so quickly into something completely different. But then at the same time as it being completely different and crazy and like world altering, like universe altering actually, while it's like that, it's still like these individual stories of them kind of learning to deal with things on their own. And I think I appreciate a lot of the lessons in this, but also like the ideas. It has some ideas that are just such different ideas. I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to finishing it. I have also been listening to, oh, where is that? Behind you. The Kingdom of Gods. I've been listening to this. I am Audible. Why won't you ever tell us the percentage? I guess I'm just short of halfway through this. This one, there are some ideas in this that I really like. The main character, I cannot stand him. I think it's trying to like show that he's a god and he has a different perspective of things. But honestly, I just see him as such a hypocrite all the time. He's like criticizing people for being bad and killing people, and then we'll just like go in and kill a room full of people. And yeah, I just, because of that, don't care about anything that's happening to him. And it's, again, it's like, I don't know, actually, the more I think about my criticisms of this, it's kind of, I want to say the same things about these, except I hate the way it's being done in the Kingdom of Gods, and I love the way it's being done in Translation State. And maybe it comes down to, I just don't like the characters in this. They're all terrible people doing terrible things, whereas this, all the characters have such good intentions, except for, like, all the characters we're following have good intentions. Whereas this, I don't know, but I will keep listening to the audiobook of this. This is sometimes the problem with readathons. I think if I wasn't reading it for that, I might DNF it and not bother. But also it's a series and I'm so close to the end. We will push through.
As I wander through the forest, walking on my Celia, with each step I spread more spore dust. Now the natural cycle's begun. Some are poison, some have magic, others just taste divine. Every fungus enigmatic, never know what you might find. Cremini, shiitake, porcini, ennaki. Cremini, shiitake, porcini.
Okay, quick late night update. Today I did go to the book fair again, and the only thing I found, like, there wasn't really that much left. Although that copy of Before They Are Hanged, did I talk about it? I can't remember, but there was a copy there. It wasn't the right size for my collection, so I didn't pick it up on the first day of the book fair. It's still there on the last day of the book fair, and it's kind of mystifying to me that there's nobody interested in taking that. Weird. Anyway, the only book that I got is kind of a weird one. I got Bis zum Morgengrauen by Stephanie Meyer. So this is the German version of Twilight. I think I said the other day. Oh, I said it actually when I was talking about Translation State. I did German in high school, and I did do Duolingo German like sporadically for a little while, but not really. Like, my German is far behind me. And I do Japanese on Duolingo these days because, I don't know, at some point I thought that would be a more useful language to me. I like learning other languages. I kind of would like to learn more German, probably just like as a nostalgia thing from my high school days. I mean, am I ever going to go to Germany? Maybe to see the castle. That's the only reason I'd want to go there. Neuschwanstein, the beautiful castle. But like, do I even really need to learn German to do that when most Germans speak some amount of English? Probably not, especially in a touristy thing. But still, I was tempted enough to pick this up. And like, it's so annoying when I read this. It's like I can almost read it because German is so close to English, and then because I know just enough that I can almost read this, and it makes me want to like try to read it. I might try and pick up some German again just to be able to read this. That's silly. I did like Twilight when I read it, even though I am slightly older than kind of the general audience of that book. I read it just after a breakup, and I flew through the whole series. So even though I'm not a Twilight fan, I'm still interested in reading this. I don't know, this is maybe a bad idea to buy it, but $4, and it's like something I'll probably never ever see again. So I got it. I don't know if it was a good idea or not. Anyway, while I was going to the book fair and back, I did listen to my audiobook, and I think I'm kind of near the end. If I update it on Storygraph, I'll be able to see a percentage, right? 74%. I would have said I was further through than that because, I mean, I am now listening to it on 2.6 times speed, but I've only got an hour and 40 minutes left. Actually, maybe I won't finish that tomorrow. Oh, I was thinking I could finish this off tomorrow. I have my regular infusion at the hospital, but actually that walk's not very long, so I probably won't finish this off tomorrow. Darn it. Because I was hoping that I could finish off all my Magical Readathon reads by tomorrow, but maybe I could still squish that in because I have also finished, oh wait, I should tell you first about Kingdom of the Gods. So, I'm just really bored. I don't care about anything that's happening. I don't feel like most of the stuff that's happening is connected to the main thing that the main character cares about and the things that he cares about. It doesn't seem like he's really like pursuing actively anything to try and solve his problem. He's just like stumbling around into other things that are going on, and the other things that are going on could be interesting, but the way that he's engaging with them means we're not really getting to engage in those parts of the story properly. Like, there's some cool magic and a whole bunch of politics, but I'm not enjoying the way the story is being presented. I do think there's some interesting ideas in there, which is probably how I felt about the whole series, but I definitely could connect to the characters in the first two books a lot better than the character that this one focuses around. So I'm just finishing this off for like ticking a box at this point, but I don't know, that's what I'm doing, I guess. I should DNF it, but I'm not going to because of the readathon, and also I want to complete the series so that I can like have a complete opinion on it. I don't know. Anyway, Translation State though, I did really like this, but I do have some criticisms for it. I feel like the ending, like, it was weird. I loved how weird it was. I can't really talk about it without spoilers, but there were some ideas in here that I loved. I loved them so much. However, I also feel like some of the language and the way that things were being dealt with were quite simplified. And maybe it makes sense because these are a lot of young people being introduced to ideas about their identity for the first time. But I would have liked a little bit more emotion in the way that stories were being told. Like in the, oh, it's out of shot. In the Ancillary Justice trilogy, the first book was really intense, and then as the books kind of lowered in intensity throughout the trilogy, I still felt like the emotions were there. Like the last book, I think, made me cry, and I really liked the way it was really developing this idea of these AI spaceships and what it is like to inhabit multiple bodies. And this is in some ways looking at some of the same ideas around belonging and connection to others. And even though there was an emotional element, I just didn't feel the emotions in the same way as the original trilogy made me. And I think some of it was just that very simplistic language. And I guess the whole end of it, the characters are really focusing on, it's an emergency situation, but we should stay calm and not panic. And so then everything that they're dealing with, they're kind of like, but let's not panic. And I kind of wanted them to panic. I think the situation warranted a little bit of panicking. I mean, sure, maybe it was better not to panic, but I wanted a little bit of panicking about everything that was going on. But still, I really like this from an intellectual point of view. It's such an interesting world. I don't think that this has given me everything I wanted. Still, I could take more stories about especially about these translators, these alien translators in this world. And still there's a lot of questions around what is going on with these aliens, because there's so much we don't know about them. So in a lot of ways, all this did is give me more questions. I do know Leckie has a short story anthology with a short story in this world, but I hope that she's writing more, because I would love to learn more about this world. I think she could write some really cool stories in it. I do wish she would figure out one that has the intensity of the first book, because that would be amazing. But also, I will take anything in this world. Anything. Then as well. So that means I've read everything in my Magical Readathon TBR, I think. Let me just quickly look at the pictures. Yes, that would mean I've read everything in my Magical Readathon TBR except for this one and this one, except that I just read this one. And I'm super proud of myself because I managed to unlock the thing in the back. Have I talked about this in this blog? Basically, this is a children's book by Graeme. I love The 11th Hour by him. I've got it somewhere down there. And in this one, when you figure out the symbols to turn these to, then you can open this. I did figure out the symbols and I was able to open it. And I also was able to find all the missing magic items. Honestly, it wasn't actually that hard. So the me that couldn't figure it out back when she was stressed from working, I mean, I think that really goes to show how a stressed brain doesn't work well for problem solving. I didn't really bother with this. There is also a thing where you can go through for each of the characters and work out their hometown. But not only do you need the code for that, you also need to work out anagrams, and I'm far too lazy, so I didn't bother in the end. There is also through this book 9 magic rabbit paw prints on every page. I have not found all of those yet either, but I could do it at some point. I think I'm not as in love with this as I am with the 11th Hour, honestly. I'm going to get 11th Hour out. This is 11th Hour. If you haven't read this and you love puzzles, even though it's a children's book, maybe you should get it. I have a bunch of stuff in the back. It actually has at the back a little section you can open with all the details, because there's so much detailed stuff. Basically, it's about this elephant, and he's having a birthday party, and he's invited all his friends, and in the beginning there's this massive feast that he's set up for them, and then at the end of the book, after they go off and have all sorts of fun and games, the feast is gone, and basically you have to work out who stole the feast. And also there's heaps of other little puzzles throughout the book to try and work out. And also throughout the book there's 100 and something little mice hidden in the book, and I went through at one point and found all of them, as well as solving every puzzle in this book. I'm so proud of myself and the effort I put into this one. But this had a lot more different puzzles, and also the story itself was a lot better. This was good. I had a fun time. I feel good about having solved it, but I still don't think it was as good as the 11th Hour. Anyway, I know those are just children's books, but if you like puzzles, I still think that they're a lot of fun. And if you like puzzles and you have kids that like puzzles, definitely. Anyway, I am not going to wrap up this vlog yet. What I'm going to do is tomorrow I have my infusion. I just said that, right? It's late. Anyway, I'm going to take The River Has Roots along to that and try and finish it there. I know I said I was going to immersion read this. I think I might just read this with my eyes first and then immersion read it, like reread it. Because I'm a little bit unsure about immersion reading this, because normally when I immersion read, I like to speed the audiobook up like quite fast. But how's that going to work if it's got singing and songs in it? I'm just not sure. So I might actually just reread this to begin with. And then once I finish this, which this is only like 100 pages actually, because there's another bit at the end which apparently is from a short story anthology that's coming soon from Amal and Mohtar. So it's only 100 pages, and some of those pages are just pictures, right? Like this. So it really shouldn't take me long to read this, and maybe I could even get through it in my infusion. Usually I only have like an hour or two of reading time during my infusion, and it's sometimes hard to focus because it's people doing things. Sometimes they play music, which I'm not a fan of when I want to be reading. But we'll see. We'll see how well I can go with this.
Lazy Sunday mornings hiding under cover.
Okay, so I did finish off The River Has Roots. I only read about half of it at my infusion, and then I read a little bit more this afternoon while I was resting because it was really hot today and I almost died walking home. Anyway, this was lovely. I don't know that it's the 5-star prediction I was hoping it would be. I still would probably like to listen to the audiobook before I decide for sure. But I think in the end, it's just a little bit too short. And while there are some good messages and some really good lines and some cool things going on, like cool fairy tale things going on, at its core, it's still just kind of like a simple kind of fairy tale. And for me, I think I need more than that for a 5-star read. So I liked it. In fact, I think I loved it. But, well, if I loved it, isn't it a 5-star? Maybe I didn't love it, but I really liked it. I think it's a beautiful little story. Just little. Although, I guess if I was to compare it to Amal Mohtar's other work that she did with Max Gladstone, like this is a 5-star read. This I loved, but still also short. But I think actually longer in terms of, I bet it's longer in terms of word count. Because as I said, this one, the main story is only 100 pages, and a lot of that is padded out with the pictures and like blank pages. So it's shorter than that. I did also like, so there's the other short story at the end. I did like it. Very similar in vibes, so I expect that this short story anthology, does it actually say just this short story collection? I expect that will have very similar vibes, so if you like this, I'm sure you'll like that. Actually, another thing that I have been reading, and well, something that I started reading and then kind of put aside, is The Honey Witch by Amal Mohtar, and it also has like similar vibes, except that in that it's like a bunch of like very, very short stories because she basically wrote a little thing every day. And this kind of feels like one of those ideas taken to completion. Anyway, I probably need to go back to The Honey Witch, but I think I like this better than that because I like that this is a complete story. But I think I'm going to end this vlog here, and then in my next vlog, I will listen to the audiobook and we'll see how I feel about it, I guess. I am also going to be reading this in my next reading vlog. I did start it last night, but I'll talk about it in my next vlog. Oh, actually, I also finished this on my walk to the hospital and back. And do you know, in the end, I do think the ending was good. Like, I think it was a good conclusion to the series. I'm a little bit annoyed because I think some of the ideas that were introduced throughout the book, but especially at the end, could have been really cool to explore further. But instead, we just spent a lot of time with this character doing other things. So I think I'm mostly frustrated with this because it's more of a character story, and I want the ideas in the plot that were like teased around this character's story, but not ever fully explored. So this wasn't my favorite, but I like some of the ideas in it. So I'm probably still happy that I read it, and in fact that I finished it because the best ideas were at the end. I can't actually remember at this point what else I read this week. Was it just these two as well? Maybe this one? Who knows? Anyway, the main thing is that I've now read all the books for the Magical Readathon, so I don't have to worry about giving myself a birthday extension or anything like that, and I can feel like a sense of accomplishment. Anyway, if you have read any of these books, which I read in this video, I would love to chat with you about them. that's on the floor now. I would love to chat with you about them down in the comments, or let me know what you've been reading lately. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.